Hi, welcome to the 5th grade Ecosystems Walk. This is the spring walk for 5th grade students. You'll be coming in and you will get your documents out of the document holder, and I'd like to show you the documents you'll be picking up. The document that you will pick up is this one here, and it has an overview of our walk today. It also has a review of some words that the children should be familiar with, and it'll give definitions. You will also have on this paper some answers to some questions that you're going to see while you're out on your walk at the different stations. You are also going to pick up a cloud chart. This is going to show you the different types of clouds, and you can discuss what type of clouds the children are seeing as they're outside and how this relates to the weather. The last thing you're going to pick up is a map. The map is going to show you all the stations that you need to go to during your 5th grade walk. This document will be with the children, so you don't need to pick this up at the front document holder, but when you go up to the classroom, the children will have these worksheets that they're going to fill out as they go through the walk. At the beginning of our 5th grade walk, you're going to come out with the students, and before we go to any of the stations, just pick a spot and sit down with the students for a few minutes and go over a few things. So we're going to go through an overview of our walk today. I'm not going to read through all of this, but this is something you can actually read to the students. It's got a lot of good information about the vernal equinox, about seasons and how and why they change. And what they should be looking for on the walk. On the second page of your sheet, you're going to have a review of some terms: ecosystem, consumer, producer, and decomposer. Ask the children if they know the answers to these, they can define these words. If not, just read it to them. You're also going to have on the bottom of the sheet some answers to some questions that you're going to find on your walk. The students' first page is going to have them record their name, date, and time. We're going to give them information of the sunrise that day and the sunset, and they're going to try to figure out how many hours of daylight is in that day. And then they're going to answer some questions. How does day length affect the ecosystems? They're going to predict the air temperature. And we're going to give you the actual general air temperature outside. As they go through the walk, they're going to be looking at thermometers at different stations, and they'll be able to compare those temperatures to the general outside temperature of that day. We're also going to talk about cloud cover. They're going to circle no clouds, partly cloudy, or mostly or completely cloudy. And then they're going to write a cloud description. Each group will also have one of these sheets that talks about the different types of clouds. They have actually talked about this in the classroom, so they should have a good idea of what type of clouds they're looking at. At the bottom of their first sheet, they're going to have a scavenger hunt. Can you find? Some of these things are marked, and some of these things are not. They're looking for spittlebugs, slug trails, fungus or mushrooms, galls, which you will see on the trees, and holes in the trees or logs. And if you find holes in the trees or logs, were the holes made before or after they ended up on the ground? And at the end of your walk, record the area that you thought had the most diverse ecosystem. As you do the 5th grade walk today, there are a number of stations and a number of things flagged with yellow markings. Do not feel like you have to get to every single station or that you have to stop and look at every yellow flag. Do your best to move the students along and try to keep them focused. And if they find something that's really interesting to them and they want to spend more time at something that isn't even marked as a station, that's totally fine. This is their time to learn more and learn how to become scientists. So here we are at the Meadow Station for the 5th grade spring walk. And your children and students are going to come to this area. They can sit down. They need to stay on the path because we have ticks and poison ivy that are abundant this year, so we want to make sure that the children are safe so they stay right on the path. They are going to have this sheet, which is their meadow station sheet. They are going to record the air temperature. So if you look down at your station marker, you will see that there is a thermometer that they can use. And then you will have done a review of producer, consumer, and decomposer with the children, defining those for them and with them. And you're going to look around and you're going to see the beautiful lush meadow and talk about what you see the most of at this particular station. Then on their worksheet they have 3 columns. They can write down what they see for producers, consumers, and decomposers. They can also look at things that are non-living that they see. So if they see water, obviously there's air. They can talk about the wind that they're feeling. Once they have looked at their worksheet and filled some of them out, you can spend some more time here looking at the sheet that's on the station marker. You want to look for spittlebugs. There are lots of spittlebugs in this area. Inside the spittlebugs are an insect called froghoppers. You can talk a little bit to them about froghoppers. Do you think this ecosystem will be different than the woods, the boardwalk, and other stations you'll visit today? And do you see a variety of colors here? Something for them to think about. How many colors are they seeing compared to some of the other stations that they go to? So this is a spittlebug, and inside the spittlebug is an insect called a froghopper. It creates the spittle around itself to keep it moist as it goes from larva stage to maturity. When it comes out, the reason it's called a froghopper is it's green and it hops around like a frog. Here we are at the cart path station in the 5th grade spring walk. At this station, we are going to look at the ecosystem within more of a forest environment. So the children are going to have their sheet that's specific to the cart path or woods. They're again going to record the air temperature. At each station in this walk, they will record the air temperature just to do a comparison. And they're going to talk about what they see most of on the cart path in the woods, producer, consumer, or decomposer. And then they're going to list some of the things that they see, as well as non-living things. Here we have a lot of rocks and soil, which are non-living. We generally do not go off the path, but for this station, we're just going to walk up to this log over here. They can also look at the log that's over there. We are going to move this log and see what's underneath. And we're going to be sure that we put the log back when we are done. Depending on the year, there can be salamanders, which are very exciting for the children. They're also going to see pill bugs and sow bugs and lots of other things. There are also lots of holes in the log. And so the holes are made by insects, but they also can be made by birds, woodpeckers. And one of the questions you can ask the students is, do you think the hole was in the tree or the limb before it fell, or was it put in after it fell? If you come over to your station marker, you will have another sheet that gives you more questions you can talk to the students about. Do you think this station ecosystem is different than other station ecosystems you'll be visiting on your walk? And do you see a variety of colors here compared to other stations you've been to? When the children start the walk, they're going to be told that they have a scavenger hunt. And one of the things that they're going to be looking for are galls. And you can see that this tree is flagged, but we need the children to just look for the galls on the tree. Galls are eggs that are laid by generally wasps or mites. And the egg will actually pupate on the leaf. It will create a little shell around itself. The tree actually creates a shell around the egg, and the egg turns into a larva, and then it will hatch once it's mature. So this is one of the scavenger hunt stops. The scavenger hunt stops, again, are just going to have a yellow flag. They're not going to be labeled with what they are. We just want the students to look for them and see what they can find. As you continue down the cart path, you're going to look for the only flags that are not yellow that mark things that the children should look at are going to be pink, which will tell you which way to go. So we have some pink flagging that is going to take you down this path and around to the ridge, and we're going to stop at the ridge to do another station. So here we are at the ridge, and the students will stop here and they will look at the general view of the forest looking down to where Muskrat Pond is. And we're going to talk to them about a couple of points here. Can you see the boardwalk? How much foliage is there? How would this view compare to fall or winter? And then on their paper, this station is a little different. We're just going to have them sketch a picture of the forest ecosystem here at the ridge. So basically, they're just going to sketch out here what they see and how this would compare in the fall when the leaves have mostly fallen, and in the winter when all the leaves are down. You can see the boardwalk very plainly. Right now it's very hard to see. We do have some decomposing going on. This is a little bit higher up than deep down into the woods by the pond, so we have pretty good amount of producers here. And they might see some consumers. They might see some squirrels or chipmunks running around. But the big thing is really to get them focused on what they see as they look out off the ridge. As you're walking along, just keep an eye out for yellow flags like the one on the ground here. This is just signs of animals or different things for their scavenger hunt. They're going to see many of these holes, but I just marked this one in case they haven't been paying attention. You can point this one out. So some kind of animal lives down in this hole, and it's just something you can point out to the children. We're on a little further down the cart path, and you'll see this yellow flag. And what we're marking here is the vine that's growing up the side of the tree is poison ivy. So the sign warns you, poison ivy, look but don't touch. The question asks, how does poison ivy contribute to the ecosystem? The answer again is on your sheet. And poison ivy contributes to the ecosystem by producing berries to feed birds. Birds can also use the vines for nest material. Animals and birds are not sensitive to the oils that cause itching in humans. We're a little further down the cart path, and there's another yellow flag, and this flag marks a euonymus bush, which is also known as a burning bush. And these are invasive species, and I marked it because we want to think about how things that are planted by humans can invade wild areas and actually take over and change completely the ecosystem. These things may eliminate other plants that are important for birds and animals, and these plants might not be as useful. So it's definitely important to keep your eye out for invasive species and make sure that you know what they are, and hopefully you can help get rid of some of the invasive species. So we've continued down the cart path, and we are here at the paint mine sign, and you're going to follow the path to the left this way down the rest of the cart path. Here we are at the stop just after you take the left after the paint mine sign, and we have a tree, and underneath the tree at the roots there's a lot of erosion happening, and we want to point this out to the children. And there's a question for them to answer. Does producer, consumer, or decomposer help them with erosion? And the answer is decomposer, because the decomposers make more soil, and the soil will fill in and help with control the erosion. We have continued down the cart path to the left of the paint mine sign, and we are now at the marker that tells you the direction for the path to Muskrat Pond and the boardwalk. So when you see this marker, you're going to head down this path and follow it all the way down to the boardwalk. After you take the turn off the cart path at the marker to come down the path to the boardwalk, you will see this yellow flag here. And there's a paper that has a question. What kind of animals made these trails, and how do they contribute to the ecosystem? On the paper that the adults got, there are answers to the question. So it's a 3* question. So the answer to the 3* question is that these trails were made by slugs. And the way they contribute to the ecosystem is they're a food source for birds and small animals. They actually have a very high water content, so the animals really look for slugs to eat. So we've made it down the path to the boardwalk, and if you look around, you can see there's a lot of green growth, but there's also a lot of decomposing. Every year, this environment is going to be different. Right now, it's very dry. A lot of years, it's extremely wet. And as you look around, you'll see mushrooms growing on a lot of the trees and on the logs that are on the ground. We don't have that this year because of the dryness. So when the students come down, even though we don't have anything marked, you can have them look while they stay on the boardwalk at the different logs and such and see what they see. They might even see some slugs. We will also have the student sheet. Again, they're going to record the air temperature. What do you see most of on the boardwalk? Are there producers, consumers, or decomposers? And then they can list some of the things they see. One of the activities that they can do is a leaf rubbing. So they can just go very immediately off the boardwalk. We don't really have poison ivy down here. They do need to be careful of ticks. And just pluck off a leaf that looks interesting to them. And they're going to put it underneath their leaf rubbing paper that they have in their packet. And they can do multiple leaf rubbings on the same page. And this will be something that they can use to remember what type of leaves that they saw down at the boardwalk. So we also have a thermometer down here. And depending on the day, the temperature will be different than the meadow. If it's sunny, it will be hotter in the meadow and it'll be cooler down here. So they can record the temperature on their sheet. We also have some of the questions that we had at some of the other stations. Do you think this ecosystem will be different than the other stations you visited today? We talked about doing a leaf rubbing. And do you see a variety of colors down here at the boardwalk as compared to the meadow? So we're continuing down the boardwalk, and I just want to point out one other flagged plant. This is barberry, and this is an invasive species. You see it planted in a lot of yards along the border of a yard. And this just shows how these plants can spread. Barberries do create a red berry, and birds will eat them. And they carry the berries in their stomach, and when they poop the berries out, and that's how the plants spread. And so here, down by the boardwalk in a very wet area, we do have a barberry plant. There's only one plant now, but because it's an invasive species, it could spread rapidly and really change this ecosystem. We've continued down the boardwalk, and I just want to show you where the boardwalk ends. As you come up here, you're going to see another pink flag, and we're going to come up the path that will lead you right back up to the school. Here's some more yellow flagging, and what you're going to see here are different fungus or mushrooms, and they're the ones on this branch and the ones on this branch on this side over here. You can really see them. These are some of the few mushrooms that we were able to find this year because it's extremely dry. So we just want to point them out to the students. These are the most common decomposers, and so we just want to show them that there are decomposers. Even though it's really dry, we do still have some mushrooms in the forest down here. So we're continuing up the path to the school, and there's another log marked with some really good specimens of different types of fungus. There are the big ones here, and there are more of the fungus over on this side.